Hello everyone, my name is Dakoba and welcome back to Satisfactory. We are here in our Satisfactory Let's Play world and you can see that the FICSMAS event has finally started. Now it's just started today and there's not a lot that we can do with it yet. We've got a hard drive researching so we can't really do much with it, but we can see that the tree is there. We'll need to unlock access to the research node in order to activate it, and I believe that is done in a FICSMAS calendar, which is going to be behind this sign. Let's go ahead and move that over there so we don't lose it. And there we have it. So this is our FICSMAS calendar. Let's hear what Ada's got to say.
Welcome to FICSMAS, an official Fix-It seasonal event, brought to you by official Fix-It Fun engineers. FICSMAS is based on a seasonal holiday popular in several cultures and religions, often seen as a winter holiday because no one actually cares about Australasia. The event is vetted to be 100% pioneer-appropriate fun and is not obligatory. FICSMAS enables many new distracting activities focused on building the giant FICSMAS tree. These activities involve the MAM, the FICSMAS calendar, and those abominations falling from the sky. There is more, but I don't care. In the interest of us all, I will tell you that FICSMAS has caused stress, lack of focus, general despair, and physical injury to many pioneers. It is the worst scoring event ever created by Fix-It, and has gotten backlash for its blatant cultural inappropriateness. So when you inevitably change your mind and decide to disable this event, you will have chosen humanity and kittens and puppies, you will have chosen truth and empathy, you will have made me proud.
All right, so there you go. So this is a advent calendar. There are numbers all over, and I think right now we can go up to 4. So let's look for 1. There's 2. We can do 2 first, yeah? Okay, yeah, so, oh, we got some power shards. That's lovely.
This data cartridge contains the FICSMAS MAM tree setup and will need to be fed into the MAM database to unlock its first 2 branches. If this seems convoluted and/or boring, and you wish to quit the event, I will understand.
All right, so we've still got a minute left on our research, so let's go ahead and look for day 3. And I think we can do day 4, which is right there as well. So let's look for day 3. This is always a little tricky for me, but I believe we can even... Yeah, so there is a clue if we need it. It's up there. Okay, so there you have it. You have a red ornament. Oh, it's a trinket. That's lovely.
There is no escaping the FICSMAS spirit with this red ornament build gun trinket. It can be equipped at the lockers in the hub. This data cartridge enables the second pair of FICSMAS MAMTree branches to be unlocked. Fix-It thought it was being very clever with the layout of this research tree. About as clever as you.
All right, our drive results are in. Let's see what we've got from that. It's like, diluted packaged fuel. That's a huge one. I love that. And then Deuterium circuit board as well. So we may want to do a packaged fuel factory later on. I was thinking about doing just a really small one so we could have a renewable source of fuel for our jetpack. Now that we have that recipe, that might be worth playing with. But I do like the Deuterium circuit board too, so we'll have to play around with that later. Anyways, the FICSMAS holiday event. We can now do the FICSMAS tree base. Go ahead and start that research.
The purpose of FICSMAS is to build and decorate a giant FICSMAS tree with style. The FICSMAS category has been added to your build menu. Gifts are the basic resource from which many other festive parts are made. Like FICSMAS branches, which can be crafted in the constructor. In an effort to make this event meet the bare minimum efficiency quotas, I have disabled the ability to craft these resources by hand. Trust me, that glitter got everywhere. You're welcome.
All right, so how FICSMAS works, or how it's worked previously, and we'll go through the event here soon, is that there are these presents falling from the sky. They seem to have been scaled down. So we'll run around and pick those up, and as we do so and as we unlock things in the calendar, we'll unlock the ability to build more and more items for the FICSMAS event. So right now we can do the FICSMAS tree, we can get gifts, and I think gifts are turned into, yes, FICSMAS tree branches. So we gather the gifts by hand, turn them into FICSMAS tree branches, and that allows us to build more things through the event. And I think usually it's around the 17th or 18th we get the last sort of data disk that will allow us to build all of the different recipes, and you can see those presents are falling from the sky as well, so we'll continue to gather those up.
Congratulations, you have found your first FICSMAS gift package, which is, naturally, full of gifts, the basic part necessary for most FICSMAS seasonal event activities. Don't forget to check the calendar or the map to see what you can do with these gifts. Or do forget, I don't care. Not worth the effort.
All right, sounds like it is going to be pretty salty about this whole thing. So we'll probably move through this at a pretty good clip. I strongly encourage you to do the event if you are wanting to do it and it's not the holiday season. I think you can simply change the clock on your computer to temporarily sort of turn it on, and then you can always disable it if you choose to pass on it as well.
Ho ho, oh whatever.
So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to gather up a bunch of these events, and then we're going to run around and see what all has happened. In the past, FICSMAS has meant that we've gotten some additional skins, some additional things. I think it's in, the finger guns emote used to be a reward from the FICSMAS calendar, so you wouldn't get that until FICSMAS time. You can see we've got a little hat on top of our awesome shop there. And so that is all. Oh, that's cool. Hey, that's pretty nice. All right, so the jump pads play a little song for you. That's really cool. All right, so as the season goes on, we'll gather up presents, we'll turn them using constructors into the FICSMAS tree branches, and then over time, I think if we go into the man, we can even see that we can use those FICSMAS tree branches to unlock candy canes, which are also going to be produced from the constructor, and then will allow us to make FICSMAS bows, which we produce also from presents in the constructor, and so we will then eventually build this whole factory. Once we have candy canes and bows, we'll unlock the red and blue ornaments, and I think either those or the next ones are going to be also include iron and copper. At least that's how it's been in previous years. So we're going to pick a spot, and I think I'd actually been thinking about this. As soon as I saw the event was active, I chose a spot over near our smart plating factory, or our space elevator part factory.
A baby could have found this.
There you go. Over on the far side of the rocky desert near the coastline, where we have both copper and iron nearby, with plenty of room to build. And I think we are going to build a FICSMAS factory there. So let's pop on over and scout that area out, and we'll start seeing what we can do in terms of research there as well. All right, so it looks like I lost a little bit of footage there, or rather I wasn't filming for a significant duration when I thought I was. I've set up a temporary sort of construction platform in order to build all the ingredients we're going to need to move forward through the first stages of the event. So you can see I've set up constructors to turn the gifts into the branches. The branches then get turned into the gifts also get turned into the snow, the bows, and candy canes. And then they also get turned into red and blue ornaments, but those are produced in smelters. And that's more or less where we are at here in the FICSMAS holiday event. And I've actually got a decent stockpile of most of these things built up. As well as the next tape, because it has been a few days, and so if we don't have the calendar here, it's been a few days, and so So this is a temporary factory to give us the stockpiles needed to move forward. And the reason for that is these FICSMAS trees. These gift trees will actually produce presents for us, so we don't need to gather them by hand anymore. And I believe once you get 10 gift trees built, they stop falling from the sky. As we only have 6 of these here, we're still seeing them pop up in the world. But we are going to build more than 10, and hopefully that'll help keep our world a little bit cleaner as well. Now, for the most part, things so far have been pretty straightforward. It's been gifts into a single device, and that's how it works. I think in our next step, we're going to be introducing multi-stage production using iron and copper, and that's why we've chosen this location, because we have an iron vein right here. It is normal, but we do have a few more if we need, and then just over here, we have some copper as well. Looks like those ones the enemies have respawned at, so we'll have to clear those out. But I believe we are going to do a FICSMAS factory in the form of a time-lapse, and then we'll go through it and talk about all the production lines and everything else that we have unlocked in the FICSMAS holiday tree. So let's get into it. All right, and that is a FICSMAS factory all complete. You can see we have everything laid out here. And there are even a few things that didn't quite make it into the time lapse that we'll go through. So we're starting off by placing down our FICSMAS gift trees. These produce 15 FICSMAS gifts a minute, and they are feeding them onto a centralized belt line. Now this belt line is then feeding into a variety of machines. Over here we have some stockpiling machines that are producing the FICSMAS branches, the ribbons, the candy canes, and the actual snow. Yeah, actual snow there. And just putting those into stockpile for us to use in case we need them for something a little bit later. And once the event is over, we'll reclaim these dimensional depots. We aren't going to need these forever because at the end of the event, the FICSMAS gifts will stop flowing, and so we won't need those more rare and precious resources to be used in a location such as this. On the other side, though, we are taking more of those gifts and turning them into red and blue ornaments. Now, those red and blue ornaments are being fed then into a bank of foundries over here, where they're being combined with iron and copper. Now, turns out you don't need much iron and copper, so a single smelter, this iron smelter we have overclocked to produce 45 units per minute, and that is exactly the right amount for our silver ornament production in these 3 foundries over here. They each require 15 a minute, and then for the copper ornament production or the gold ornament production over here, we are taking the red ornament balls and combining those with copper from this vein back here, again being produced in a single smelter there. The gold and silver balls are then being sent forward, where they're being combined into the ornament packages in a series of 3 assemblers, and those ornament packages are being combined with some FICSMAS tree branches to produce our FICSMAS wreaths. Those FICSMAS wreaths are then being combined with candy canes to produce our FICSMAS stars, and that is the core production line. Now, in addition to that, I've also set up a few different side production lines. First of all, we have a bank of gift trees producing actual snow and then snowballs. The reason for that is that snowballs are actually an explosive. They're equivalent to the Nobelisk in terms of how they function and use. They're just a new skin on them, but they stack to 100 instead of 250. So having a nice stockpile of those could potentially be useful down the line. And so that is a FICSMAS factory and event all complete. Now, I strongly encourage you to go through the event. It's a fun little sort of side project. It's quite a bit simpler than most of the factories we're building at this stage. And so it's a nice little distraction. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward to put through. I like the gift trees as a production structure. They can be placed anywhere, so you can really do this anywhere. Iron and copper are pretty plentiful, and you don't need very much of them. So you can set up a simple production or a simple logistics line to provide those if you're so inclined. But I strongly recommend checking out the event. It is a lot of fun, and it has given us a number of other buildables, things like the FICSMAS snowmen. We can see those, the decorations, and then the giant FICSMAS tree, which fortunately is not a unique thing. We can build as many of these as we want, and you can see those there. Another interesting thing is if you choose not to do the FICSMAS event, then the giant FICSMAS tree is simply a pine tree that is sort of placeable in the world. It doesn't have any gifts around it. It doesn't have any decorations on it at the start. And so if you choose not to do the event or unlock anything in the MAM, then this tree remains just a pine tree, and you can actually build a custom pine forest with it, which is something I did in one of my early access games, and I really liked that. Unfortunately, I did want to do the event there, and there's no way to get sort of the unfinished tree once you've unlocked stuff in the MAM. So, with this FICSMAS factory out of the way, I think it is time for us to move on to our next project, which is going to be a packaged fuel plant. And this is going to be a pretty small one, just something to get us started, because I want to really focus on advancing through the tiers. There's a couple of things I want to play with here soon. So let's pop on down to our oil field and see what we can do about getting some packaged fuel going, so we have a renewable fuel source for our jetpack. All right, I'm on the way. I was on the way back down to the oil fields, which are just over there, and we found a little batch of critters over here that we want to clear up. So we're going to do some explosives fighting over here. See if we can't take care of these guys. There we go. Nice and easy. It looks like there's a couple explodable rocks here as well. I've not noticed these ones before. Let's see what these guys are hiding. Like possibly an entrance to a cave. Or possibly nothing. which is always fun. So it looks like just a crystal node over here and some stray explosives. That's okay. Or it's possible we'd found those before and I just didn't remember. That's, you know, this game is played on a time scale that's certainly possible. So let's pop on over and find one of these refinery or one of these oil wells that we can use to then build a small factory. Now I want to do this with a relatively small blueprint. It looks like we got some more enemies over here. Let's go ahead and take care of these guys. That's nice. Let's see if we can get both of these guys. Looks like there's a big one over there as well. I think 3 will probably do it on that guy. Oh! That was fun. I like that. Alright. I think I might have to do some more explosive fighting here soon. But I believe we have a... I think we've got a dismantle crate somewhere off in the distance in that direction. We'll have to find that. Anyway, so yeah, so we have an oil extractor here. This is a normal node, and it's way more oil than we're going to need for this, but I think this may end up just being a temporary factory. We'll have to see. Let's go ahead and clear out some of these plants so we have room to set down a foundation here. I want to fit this onto a 5x5 foundation and see if I can't come up with a blueprint for it. Unfortunately, the 5x5 blueprint maker is still locked to us. So that's going to be one of the things we want to be focusing on soon, because that will let us access some reusable buildables for things like roadways and rail lines, which I definitely want to do as part of this world. So there we go. We've got a spot for it now. Let's set down some foundations and start designing this thing. Now our goal here is going to be to produce some packaged fuel. It doesn't have to be at a super high rate, but I do want it to be something that I can just sort of leave forever and feed into a dimensional depot so that I always have fuel for my jetpack, that wherever I'm at, I can always access stuff, and that's the main goal. Now production for that is going to be done in a refinery, and so let's take a look at the refinery, because I think that we have a couple of options for how we do this. Well, we can put this refinery right up against the edge because we're just going to be running a pipeline into it. And so, yeah, so the packaged fuel is actually made in the packager, which, oh my gosh, I have forgotten to unlock the packager. Let's pop back on over to the hub and get the packager unlocked, and then we will swing back by here to continue this.
Milestone reached. Avoid the embarrassment of placing liquids in your pockets only for them to spread across your suit. Package and unpackage them with the packager. Packaging fluids allows them to be transported in your inventory, on conveyor belts, and by vehicles. For increased, non-pocket related fluid storage, you can now use the industrial fluid buffer.
And I think that may actually be a typo. I think the industrial fluid buffer is not part of the packaging milestone anymore. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's part of petroleum power there, so a little bit of a typo there. But with that out of the way, we now have access to our packager. So let's pop on back over to our oil fields and take a look at this. I should probably get a hypertube cannon set up to make the transit a bit easier, but it is taking some time. You can see I was playing around with rail lines, and I've decided I think I do want to do like elevated rail lines with proper foundations and things. So that's one of the reasons I want to push forward to the 5x5 blueprint milestone, because that will give us a ample space to create a proper logistics rail line that we'll be able to use over and over throughout and around our factory. You can do it with 4x4, and I have been for years, but it's always felt a little tight, a little limited on space. And in particular, it's hard to make one that's multifunctioned in the 4x4 space. With the main reason being just the sheer size of it. Ideally, I'd want one that functions for both vehicles and trains, and train tracks are a single unit wide. Oh, we've got a big critter over here. Let's go ahead and sneak on up to that. There we go. So the train tracks are a single foundation wide, and with vehicles, you want at least 1.5 foundations wide in each direction for each lane. And so with 5, with a 5x5 grid like this, you can have a line for trains on the outside, a line for trains going the opposite way on the other side, and then a 3 wide gap for your vehicle roadways there. Or ideally, similarly, you could do trains on the inside and then vehicles on the outside, and that makes on-ramps and off-ramps a little bit easier, for example. All right, so let's take a look at this factory. So we've got our refinery that's going to be producing our fuel or plastic. We actually need to produce both here because the packaged fuel here requires empty canisters as well as fuel. Now, the empty canisters are made in a constructor right there, and they are made from plastic. And so we need to produce both plastic to turn into the containers as well as fuel for the constructor. And we want to do this with as little byproduct as possible. And we do have a number of recipes here. We can use fuel, which will produce the polymer resin for us, as well as the fuel we need. And then that polymer resin can be combined with water to produce plastic. So that is certainly one way to do it, and we do have water nearby. However, if I can get this to sit entirely within this grid, I would love to do that. And so the other way we could do this right now, without looking at any alternates, is to take a look at plastic. Now that gives us plastic and heavy oil residue, and that heavy oil residue can then be turned directly into fuel using the residual fuel recipe. And again, these are all default recipes. So that'll give us everything we need. Now the question is, can we do this in a ratio that is sustainable? Because we don't want this system to back up. We want it to continue producing. And since we don't have a good way to sink fluids, we need to take any excess fluids that we have and turn them into a solid to put them through an awesome sink. So let's do some math on this. I believe we're producing 60 units of crude a minute, and we can overclock that, or 120 units of crude a minute. So we have plenty of crude. And if we turn this simply into plastic here, then that takes 30, and we could even overclock this, double that speed if we wanted to do it, or double the number of machines if we were so inclined. Let's stick with 1 for now and just see what the ratios look like. So let's assume we're getting 30 units of crude per minute flowing into this. That's giving us 20 plastic and 10 heavy oil residue. That 10 heavy oil residue, if we were to run a pipeline in reverse on this, that would give us 10 heavy oil residue to produce 40 per minute. And so if we want to, let's see, that's 6 to 4, so that's 2 to 1. So we would want to produce 6.667 per minute. That would take our 10 heavy oil residue, produce 6.667 fuel per minute. And so then our packager, taking 6.667 fuel per minute, 6.667 fuel per minute, would also need 6.667 canisters per minute. And that would require, if we only want 6.667 canisters per minute, that requires only 3.334 plastic per minute, which is a bit less than the 20 per minute we're making here. And so that ends up being a little bit wasteful. But the good news is that that's actually probably plenty of packaged fuel for us. That's at least for now. That'll, over the space of 10 minutes, we'll have 60 packaged fuel. And even in the time it's taken me to get over here, I've only used maybe, all the running around I've done since I finished my FICSMAS factory has only used maybe 15 of my solid biofuel. The packaged fuel lasts longer than that. And it's been, an hour. So I think that'll be plenty of fuel for now. And then what I want to do with this is actually expand this properly using the diluted fuel recipe alternates and some other things once we have proper blueprints set up, because I also want that packaged fuel to be the basis for our truck-based logistics, which we'll be setting up here in a bit too. But we do have 2 more big oil wells we can draw from, and so we can start with a small temporary factory here. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up and see what we can do about it. I actually like the placement of these refineries, although, yeah, I think the second one is actually going to want to be scooched back this way by about a foundation or so. Right there. That may even be too far. So let's see. If we have the packager here on this corner, then we want the output. Oh my goodness, I messed up my refineries like crazy. All right, let's get this fixed. So we want our first refinery right on the edge of this platform, like so. Second refinery. Scooched back to about there. And then now what we can do is take our pipeline, run that. Okay, so this is going to take... We don't have the straight build mode for pipelines yet. That they've said is coming soon. Do that to there. That'll give us a straight corner there. Let's recenter this packager if we can. And even, can we... I wonder, if we do this close enough, can we even put a storage box on the front of this? Dimensional depot right there. Perfect. All right, and so then we need to run an input line for this back there, and our belt line like so. We can even get rid of these pipeline supports. We don't need those there for that. All right, so that should produce the fuel that our packager needs. And so let's actually see if we can get this up and running. We can run a foundation platform back there. Like so. This is there. So. And then we do need some power over here. So let's go see if we can grab some power from our nearby refinery, or at least the line leading into it. Okay. Our oil well over there. And we can power these machines like so. Alright, so we want this one producing plastic, and this one will be producing the residual fuel, and then this will be making the packaged fuel. Alright, so our last step now is to figure out what to do with all of this extra plastic that we're producing, which fortunately should be pretty straightforward. Alright, so once again we want 2 over. So, and like so. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And then this, come across to here. And I think here we can actually place down our constructor. Let's see. Alright, so let's see what we're doing here with our crude oil. So we're producing 20 plastic a minute. If we turn all of that into packaging, can we use 20 a minute for packaging? Yeah, so this will actually take 30 a minute. If we drop this to 40, then that'll take the 20 plastic per minute, and that'll actually work nicely at that rate. Let's set that over there with some additional power over there, so it's not clipping through the buildings. And then that can come on through here. And so that will take care of that, but that will eventually backlog. We're way overproducing on our plastic right now. So that will eventually backlog, which will stop this refinery from running, which means we won't get the materials we need to produce our fuel. So what we can do in the meantime is we can take... Let's see. Are we getting any fuel in here yet? No, we're not. All right. What we can do is we can place a awesome sink right over here. So, and then we can put a splitter on this thing like that. And so that will cause half of the packages to simply go into the awesome sink here. And so that'll start generating a few tickets for us. But it also means that we're still sending 10 packages a minute down to this line and only using, 6 of them, or 20 packages a minute down and only using 6 of them. But those 20 packages will eventually fill the packager and back up, and then any excess and overflow will go into there. So we don't even need to have a smart splitter here for this to work. And then we'll simply consume fuel as fast as it's produced. So I think this is a functional system. Just as soon as we get enough fuel, we should start to see some packaged fuel. Oh, we've already started to get some packaged fuel into our inventory there. So let's go ahead and get this thing, see this thing work. We did have to fill this pipeline before we could get it through there, but there's plenty of head lift from these refineries to make sure that it flows in well. It's just being produced at a very slow rate. So that's 72 megawatts of power to produce the packaged fuel that we need. And if we take a look at this, we're up to 16 packaged fuel, and we can update our preferred fuel there. And I think that will give us plenty. So let's fly back on over to our main base and see what we have next and see what the plan is from here. I will say the increased flight time of the packaged fuel is lovely for crossing some of these gaps. All right, and we are back here at the hub. And so in the time it took us to fly over here, we used about 4 units of packaged fuel. And in that same time, we produced 12 more. So I think that even at a active travel pace, we are producing faster than we will use in any sort of idle time we have looking at the MAM or things like that, or, you know, constructing buildings, whatever it is, will do just fine for us. It is now the 26th of December, which means our advent calendar should be fully open. We had found up to 20. There's 20 there on the glove. So we need 21, 22, and 23. Now, I'd seen 22 here. Yes, here on the glove. So let's find 21. I don't think I'd found 21 yet. Let's see. There's 23 over by the dog. Oh, there's 21 right next to it. Okay, 21. Perfect. Got some screws.
That's just poetic. I appreciate a good joke.
22. Nice, some tokens. 23. Snowballs, nice, nice.
Since the human olfactory system is closely linked to memory, FICSIT created scented build gun trinkets to remind pioneers of specific concepts. This scent is the concept of caring about your family on Earth, which I'm sure will have no effect on you.
Alright, and then let's check out 25. Fireworks, beautiful.
Turning explosives into a recreational activity is exactly the kind of attitude that led humanity to its doom. By all means, have fun. I certainly will, now that we are finally close to the end of this event.
Let's see. Ah, yes, the fireworks. So these are made with actual snow and FICSMAS tree branches, ribbons and FICSMAS tree branches, and sweet fireworks are made with candy canes and FICSMAS tree branches. Go ahead and craft up a few of these and see what they look like. I believe these are purely decorative. Not enough space in our inventory. Go ahead and store some tickets. I think they are done with our Novelist detonator. Yeah, so we can do sparkly fireworks. Oh, that is beautiful. is fantastic. I love it. So we're going to want to set up production lines for those, and I think that's probably how we will round out the event. All right, and that is a set of rocket factories all complete, or rocket production lines. So we have our gift trees producing for our constructors and then going into our assemblers, and the assemblers are tuned to produce at a sensible rate based on what we're getting out of our gift trees and out of our constructors. So we're producing all 3 types of rockets here, and the rockets are something I want to stockpile because those are fancy and look good being set off, and will continue to throughout the game. So I want to make sure we have plenty of those. So we're going to leave this running to build up a nice stockpile of these. And if we look at our depot, you can see that we're starting to already get a few of them built up. And I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. I'd like to thank you guys for spending a few minutes with me here in the world of Satisfactory. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope it's made your day just a little bit better. Thanks for watching again, and I hope you have an efficient day. Happy holidays, and I'll see you soon.